Horror has long been a core interest of mine across all forms of media. This started with film when, in my teens, I became obsessed with discovering hidden gems and better understanding the genre's history. This would push me in various directions from 70s Italian shockers to atmospheric J-horror. For gaming, I've always enjoyed the genre, but I tend to be more drawn to RPGs. I've become rather picky about the horror games I invest my time in, which is part of the reason I love playing Steam demos. To some, these are cut short narrative stories, but to me they are an introduction to the game developer's grander vision. A successful demo can sell you on the main game and have you wishlisting and anticipating its release. I have highlighted some of the most recent horror demos I played through, all of which I enjoyed to varying degrees, with occasional caveats or hopes that tweaks will help bring them to their full potential. I also tried to keep an open mind here, as some of these demos did not work for me, but I can see how others would fall for its charms where I felt they faltered. Let's dive in and get spooky. First up, we have Photomaly, which is the first game from Riveria Interactive, who act as both a developer and publisher. The official synopsis reads, PSX-style horror thriller, where you manage a photo studio. Restock supplies, buy upgrades, photograph customers, and print their orders while encountering unexpected events. Your day starts with an alarm, some fumbling around, and trying to get the bearings of your shop. You have to find the generator in the back to turn it on. This will become a semi-regular task depending on the happenings in your humble little photo studio home. You do some sweeping up to prepare yourself for the incoming customers, the flipping of the sign showing you are ready to welcome all sorts of freaks and weirdos in this nameless PlayStation hellscape. The gameplay loop is straightforward, but more importantly, it flows smoothly. You greet a customer, take their photos requested, print it on the computer, pop it into an envelope, and hand it to them for cash. The backroom for developing photos also opens up, but here it is the same kind of simple execution of tasks to deliver a finished product to your customer. From the demo, most of the gameplay centers on customer interactions and the daily grind of running a studio. The horror comes with a constant sense of unease and some phenomenal jump scares. You can see the moment I shit my pants here. Still, the real joy in horror come from taking the photos and from the uncertainty of whether they are a regular paying customer, like this cool dude here, or whether something more ominous surrounds them, like this power couple. There are also small touches I appreciated within the game, such as setting pictures you take as backgrounds. Sorry, pretty lady, shirtless dude is my new backdrop. The demo also introduces a bit of lore surrounding your father, who owned the shop previously. This is hinted near the beginning through dialogue, but it is the visit from a man in black that gives you a better idea of why your father was paranoid about the business and how much his son knew about its operations. It's really fun to delve into this idea of helping develop photos for the government, showing aliens, while also dealing with clients haunted by supernatural beings. There are also some recurring characters, including this normal walking clown that also likes to pop in and mess with you a bit. These types of games have become pretty common, blending simulation with horror, but despite the crowded market for them, they remain a guilty pleasure of mine. I loved everything about Photomaly in the demo, from the graphics to the simple yet addictive simulation of running a dingy photo studio, to the eccentric characters who visit. It is such an ideal blend of dark comedy, horror, and mystery with very simple yet rewarding gameplay. I wanted to start strong here as I don't really have any notes on what could be improved going forward, yet the issue here will also be longevity. The demo ends after a few days of operation, but there's no knowing how much content comes after that. I would want more returning visitors to deepen the story, and maybe more customization of the photo room, as long as it does not get rid of that dingy aesthetic. There's a CC camera, not playable in the demo, so I'm pretty confident the vision here goes beyond what we see in the sneak peek here. For now, this one is an easy follow and add to the wish list, and I'm excited to see the final version. Cage in My Head. Cage in My Head is a second game from developer Igor Kunev. His previous work, Mommy Don't Hurt Me, Mommy Don't Hurt Me, came out in November of 2025. Often, a quick turnaround to another project can wave some flags, but this one struck a particular chord with me. At the same time, this is one demo that I think I could have gotten a bit farther and made more progress, but it was so unnerving that after my second attempt to keep the protagonist alive, I decided to back out. The horror visual novel captures severe mental health struggles quite unlike anything else I have seen, presenting an utterly indulgent lead who lives in a world defined by their vices. In the short time spent with the demo, it covers themes of death, suicide, alcohol abuse, gender dysphoria, bullying, animal cruelty, and the sort of fugue state of lingering between two worlds when one's mind becomes a powerful tool to change perception of reality. This is all heightened by the visual design, which is utterly unnerving, yet unique and oddly captivating. There are a few slightly more humorous moments, such as the appearance of this little phallic guy you have to beat up. But stuff like this just adds to the charm of it. The score will also assault you with noise in a selective way that heightens its intensity. To spare your hearing, I turned the volume down for this sequence as it gets very loud. This moment, when the protagonist performs lobotomy on themselves, is a pure assault on the senses in the best way. It creates shock and unease that really highlights the physical and mental pain they're going through. Utterly terrifying stuff. While I failed to mention the gameplay, it is pretty evident in the footage. You just click and choose from the options, offering guidance or words to the protagonist. Even here, you feel less in control and more like you're along for the ride, with some prompts flooding the screen giving you only one option, as if they are the ones leading you further into their own delusions. The whole experience of this was upsetting, to say the least, but at the same time, Cage in My Head made such an impact on me that I felt like I had to include it in this video. Certainly, if it's something that catches your attention, you should definitely check it out. Myself, I'm not too sure if I'm glad or terrified Cage in My Head exists, but that unto itself is high praise. Dread Neighbor is a Chinese 3D first-person horror game from indie developer Ghost Case. This is the developer's second game following Dread Flats, which has a very positive rating on Steam with over 1,000 user reviews. For me, though, this demo is the first introduction to the developer. In the game, you are a young, nameless woman living in a dingy apartment who begins to experience a series of increasingly frightening events, and a loop where you keep running into a brutal, masked killer. Whether it is for the demo or the larger vision for the game, there seems to be an inevitability of being caught and then reawakening into escalating scenarios. There seems to be no reason why your character was chosen in particular, at least in the demo, but it doesn't feel necessary. This is essentially a scare simulator loosely tied together through a plot. I don't know or don't care about the character's story or struggles, and I am totally okay with that. What instantly stands out is the visual and audio design, with Dread Neighbor feeling poised to really capitalize on creating a sense of unease. Sounds will startle you, only to reveal a mundane item one time and the masked killer the other. It keeps you guessing and always on your toes. Whenever you hesitate to move in one direction or the other, it's apparent the game is triggering those brain receptors that rationalize fight or flight. Here's one sequence that I thought was really effective in the way it just made me freeze and not really wanting to move towards what I had assumed and was correct in assuming was a jump scare. The gameplay is very linear, going from point A to B, which is sadly where I struggled. I am so RPG brain that I felt the need to check every corner and make sure I was not missing anything. Here, the structure is more go here, so this triggers, then go to that corner, and then the thing will do a thing. This was also somewhat hindered by very small indicators on what you could interact with, as it took me forever to realize I had to look in the corner of a shelf to move it aside. Did it dull my experience with the game? Yes, but that is more my fault. When it comes to horror in general, I'm pretty desensitized, and it is difficult to feel generally unsettled by atmosphere. But there's a grittiness to Dread Neighbor that absolutely did it for me. The grim setting is also one that people will probably either love or hate, as supernatural almost always reigns supreme in this format. You are not going against some spooky ghost, but rather a vicious killer who likes to play with his targets. The developer's previous game is reasonably priced on Steam, which leads me to believe it is a shorter, tailored horror experience. I get the vibe from the demo that Dread Neighbor will likely follow suit and probably be a fast yet aptly horrific experience. I enjoy Dread Neighbor, and it made me realize I should lean into more of this type of straightforward yet effective roller coaster plan scares. I can't help it, I am a sucker for a good simulation game slash horror mashup, but this one was delightful, except for when I was randomly clicking on everything because I thought there would be a small thing I was missing, but that's just more how my brain games. Seriously, don't let my abysmal gameplay on this one undersell the demo. It is very well done and you can move through it pretty swiftly, unlike myself.
February 23rd, 1984. Carrion City. Another night of rot, simmering under busted streetlights.
The skin stapler from developer Tainted Pact was one that I was unsure of including here. The demo was a roller coaster ride of thoughts. There were moments I absolutely adored, and others that felt tedious. Looking at the developer's Steam page, you can see they have definitely carved out a niche for themselves and seem to be really good at what they do. This is my first introduction to them through this demo, and I am excited to check out their other projects even if I had mixed feelings about this demo. To start, let's look at what Skin Stapler does well. The visual style and direction captured that grimy age of PlayStation where shock content was ever so slightly more common. Think the violence of Manhunt with the humor of Twisted Metal 2, only amplified. Being able to dwell in this murky landscape and indulge in crass humor is a place I enjoy visiting. I also adore old action movies, particularly from the 90s, that lean into tropes like the cop that breaks all the rules. While Skin Stapler is not an action game, it really embodies that spirit thanks to its vocal performance from Detective Dick Slater. I just love hearing him opine about the filth in the city and how he needs to clean it up. The voice acting here is phenomenal across the board. Within the first few moments, you have interactions with several other police officers, all very stereotypical characters, but ones that are crafted with a love and understanding of genre film.
It could be worse. Most cops in Carrion City never make it.
Retirement? With how corrupt this city is? Ugh, I wouldn't be surprised if they kept me on my beat until I kill over in the streets.
A fate we both share, I'm afraid.
Some of these interactions had me laughing out loud, such as this one here.
Well, look who crawled out of his trench coat. You miss me, Slater?
Not even a little.
Shame. I've got a real thing for men who look like they got nothing left to lose.
Then aim lower.
Your loss. Plenty on me at an station.
I also enjoyed the introduction to the titular Skin Stapler.
Does this place ever actually fit? Ah, jeez! You scared the crap out of me, man. What?
It is all just so damn entertaining. But where the demo really started to test my patience was the gameplay. After we are introduced to Dick Slater, you step into the role of two different workers, one at a convenience store, the other at a bowling alley. The gameplay consists of some light simulation and quick time events to bide time over until something else happens. The problem here is that the timing on everything is tedious, and I found myself just waiting to serve up some hot dogs or wash some dirty bowling balls to get back to the good stuff. Far from riveting gameplay. While I praised the humor earlier, it comes and goes, as the Skin Stapler tends to be overly indulgent. These people deep dogging these dogs is only moderately funny the first time, let alone the seventh. Does this mean that the Skin Stapler demo and its future release are going to be bad? I am leaning into probably not. As a film fan, it was pretty pitch perfect, coming with an obvious love for action and horror. I can also see where I found fault others will enjoy, particularly when it comes to the comedy. I don't want to revisit it when it's out for the gameplay, but I do want to check it out for the story. I'm also excited to delve into Tainted Pack's other games after trying Skin Stapler. So let's send this one off with some words from the Skin Stapler himself.
I require that beautiful skin of yours, my dear. I can't have you screaming and crying while I shrill it from your body.
Please.
We're going to end on a bit of a dark note here, but I absolutely had to highlight Not My Hand, developed by Beetle Game. While the game's graphic and dark nature puts it on the more extreme end of horror, which is not always to my taste, it is the use of sound design that is so phenomenal here. I love horror that uses sound as its main way to deliver terror. Some of my favorite horror films include Masking Threshold, Pontypool, and Barbarian Sound Studio. I found the concept of sound design as horror to be an understated way to approach the genre, focusing on words or sounds to draw viewers in more so than the imagery. To explain how Not My Hand works, you're left in a room with several men tied up and you have to kill them. The twist, you're not actually the shooter, you're one of the hostages, and you have to rely on your hearing to try not to execute yourself. This admittedly took me a moment to figure out, even after going through a tutorial, because I had to reverse my hearing since I was technically facing myself. After a few rough starts where it felt like a guessing game, things started to click a bit more. As you play, you unlock different sounds you can schedule at certain times. In fact, both shots and sounds are on a timer. If you miss taking a shot, the game does it randomly for you. This creates a sense of urgency, as after a scheduled sound comes, you feel a pressure to make the right decision, which doesn't always feel immediately obvious. As grim as it is, there are certain sounds that I also found myself gravitating towards. The squeaking of a door was not nearly effective as getting one of the victims to cry. It kind of makes you feel gross to be so intent on listening to every single noise, looking for reasons to kill a person, but it is also an oddly addictive cycle that is utterly gripping. The demo for Not My Hand also does a wonderful job of hinting of there being a greater purpose to the events, whether it be through cryptic text or the darkened creature showing up from time to time. It is difficult to say what the grander vision of the game is going to be long term, but there's a solid foundation here for those who enjoy more extreme horror and appreciate terror that is driven by sound, though there is no shortage of disturbing imagery here to crawl under the player's skin. Not My Hand is a very cool, yet unnerving concept, and I'm excited to see how it shapes out.
I bring you love.
I have included the links below for all the games covered here. Grab the demo for each, try it out, add it to your wishlist. The games are already out by the time you see this, check the reviews, see where they're at, or take a chance on a potential gem. I'm figuring out a balance as I go through this process, so please make sure to subscribe as I do plan on building up this channel with new content regularly. Thanks for watching, and until next time, don't forget, the world looked upon us and said, "Evolution weeps."